Hey there, welcome to the first of 3 gear reviews I'm doing tonight. Thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with the channel. I know it's been 6 weeks or so since I did a last review, which was that cold steel shovel. Today we're looking at, first of all, the Leatherman OHT. Of course, it is a Christmas present. A Leatherman OHT is a full-sized, I would say heavy-duty multi-tool by Leatherman. It is a one-hand opening on all features, although you still find it easier to use too. Why one-hand opening? Well, I guess it's got its benefits. Most practically would be if you're working up a ladder, you needed to get it out of its sheath while you're holding something else, and you needed to get some pliers on something, and whilst perhaps holding something in place. I would imagine that would be a handy time for a one-hand opening set of pliers. There is a knack to it and they do open easier. I'm just behind a camera, so it's just a bit fidgety. I just don't want to knock anything over. You do need a bit of wrist flick. So the pliers are full-sized, I would say. They don't open as far as other pliers because of the mechanism, like the handles don't have as much distance to travel to butterfly open. So they're sort of limited by the frame and just the general mechanism. Got a bit of an unusual appearance. You've got these big shoulders coming out here. I'm quite fond of the appearance. I think it looks nice and sort of industrial or tactical or something like that. It looks a bit more of a sort of an action man tool than the tool that has sort of replaced its purpose for me, which was a Leatherman Super Tool 300. So all the features, one hand opening, pliers stored within the handles, and it's been out since about 2011, which was when the story goes that Gerber's patent on the one-hand opening pliers or the sliding pliers expired, so Leatherman was right on it. And compared to the Gerber MP600, this does feel a lot more substantial. I was expecting it to be a bit rickety and a bit sort of not feel as heavy-duty as, say, the Super Tool 300, which I do have here. So just if I put the two next to each other, you'll notice that it's actually a little bit bigger than the Super Tool, just in terms of space that it takes up. Weight-wise, the Leatherman OHT comes in at 273 grams, with the Super Tool coming in at 290. The OHT has a little bit less metal in it, a few more empty spaces. Something that people often bemoan is that the plier heads are hollow, which they are. I'll just shine a little light in there. Hollow to the point of once you're up here, this is all solid steel, of course, but down here, because they need to have springs inside them because they're spring loaded. You can see the spring there connecting. There's a little bit less material, so you could say that these are perhaps less durable than a tank like Super Tool 300, and I'd be inclined to agree. That is just a very solid feeling set of pliers. However, I was pleasantly surprised by the substantialness of this tool. I've got the seemingly now standard for their large line replaceable wire cutters. One thing about these wire cutters is because there is invariably going to be handle shake and a bit of wriggle, you can sometimes, if you're pushing, say I'm pushing down with this palm and up with these fingers, you can sort of cause them to catch and misalign a bit, but that's probably a user error, and if you just use them normally, you won't have any problems cutting wire. There's a pleasant springiness to the pliers, more so than the Wingman and the Sidekick, I think. I think the spring is a little bit stronger. I like spring-loaded pliers. Again, it helps you use them with one hand, especially when you're using them for a long time. They're quite comfortable. There's no real sticking out hard edges. These are rounded quite well, and nothing really digs into your hand. Even the little buttons, they feel fine. The tools are where the whole concept of the tool sort of lost its way a bit in my mind. I would say that this is a very specific use of multi-tool. There are certainly absences on tools that make it not for everyday carry and general purpose use. For example, there is no scissors and there is no file. The lack of scissors is not surprising to me. Leatherman seem to have multi-tools with scissors and multi-tools without. This is another one without scissors, more of a hardware type multi-tool. The Wave Surge line, the Wave especially being designed for everyday carry, has scissors. And it's also missing the file, which I think is a bit more strange for something like this. But then I guess you could say that they are just going for perhaps more of a tactical, like a first response type multi-tool, which is what I use it for. I put it on my belt at work. And yeah, some of these tools will come in fairly handy, or they could come in handy on a few, or a handful of very critical times. Notably, of course, would be the rescue cutter with its Phillips head on the end. This one hand opens with the line lock, very sharp in there, cuts very well. And also the serrated blade, so you've got sort of your rescue side here. Now one hand opening the main blade and the rescue cutters would be done with your thumb, and the serrated blade and the saw will be done with your index finger. Now the saw is a bit of a point of contention for me. I don't think they should have had a saw on this tool at all. I don't think saws are used a great deal on the everyday carry multi-tools. Fair enough on the super tool. This is a much longer saw though, and I have actually used it to do sort of momentary use, short notice work. And it actually feels long enough. You can make some small cuts. This you just feel like you'd be just really grinding away at something rather than sawing away at it. So I would have probably put a file there, or scissors. Scissors are always handy. But if they wanted to go completely law enforcement or first response, they probably could have put a more specialized tool there, perhaps like a glass breaker or like a handcuff key, one of those long handcuff keys. That'd be a cool idea for police. Or so I think the tool's sort of a little limited in its selection, and I think therefore it narrows its market share down a little bit. Unless you're just a guy like me who would have got it anyway. Fit and finish wise, I was really happy to see this was metal. I had a nagging suspicion this was going to be plastic, these covers. I chose the silver version. It also comes in black and coyote tan. I don't like coyote tan, and I'm not the biggest fan of black Oxide. All of them have black tools and pliers though. Fit and finish is really good. Some people complain that their Oxide coating isn't clean enough. Mine's come just fine. The plier heads align very well, meeting for a very decisive tip at the end there. And it's about as good as you can expect for the novelty, which is really what it is, I think, of sliding pliers. Really hardcore multi-tool users will still go for a butterfly design, I would guess. That's how I feel anyway. Overall, very happy with the tool. Few shortcomings. As I said, you lose a bit of space on all of the tools. Two serrated blades just there. For a tool that's about the same size as the super tool, none of the tools really measure up. But then whether or not you use or need this amount of blade is really probably a question that you know the answer to. Things such as one of the better tools on the super tool is the nice solid three-dimensional Phillips. On the OHT you get a 2.5 dimension, so it's wider one side than the other. Still not a flat Phillips, but definitely getting there. It has a bit of reach, but certainly not the reach of its super tool there. So yeah, you do make some concessions for what is very much very fun to play with and very sort of specific and very easy to use and manipulate multi-tool. I wouldn't make it your first or your only, but if you do a job where you might be up a ladder, where the one hand or the quick access gimmick of the tool is appealing to you, or if you just like collecting Leathermans, this certainly isn't a bad one. But yeah, just slightly more specific than just grabbing the old ST or Wave. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you later.